On March 26, 2026, at 3 in the morning local time, an Israeli airstrike hit a building in Bandar Abbas, the Iranian port city that sits at the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz. The target was Admiral Alireza Tangsiri, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, the man Israel described as directly responsible for the terrorist operation of mining and blocking the Strait of Hormuz to maritime traffic.
The man who designed the Hormuz blockade was killed on March 26th. His intelligence chief was killed in the same strike. The command layer that held whatever mine chart existed is gone. Iran cannot produce a complete map of its own minefield because the people who would have compiled it are dead.
Also killed in the same strike, according to the Israel Defense Forces, were all of the IRGC Navy's key commanders who were present at the meeting. Iran did not immediately confirm or deny the death. On March 30th, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps confirmed that Tangsiri had succumbed to severe injuries from the attack.
The IRGC Navy has no named commander as of April 12th, but it is still issuing operational declarations. The 2008 reorganization distributed operational autonomy across 31 semi-autonomous regional corps.
The new supreme leader extended his condolences on Telegram, describing Tangsiri as a soldier of Iran and guardian of Islam. The funeral was held in Bandar Abbas. As of April 12, 2026, the IRGC Navy commander position remains vacant. No successor has been publicly named. The man who architected the Hormuz closure strategy, who personally appeared on social media, posting updates on which ships were permitted to pass through the strait.
Between 2,000 and 6,000 mines, laid haphazardly, without systematic position recording. The USS Samuel B. Roberts struck a single mine in 1988 and nearly sank. The current minefield is between 20 and 6 times larger than that one.
Who had been photographed inside Iran's underground missile city on Qeshm Island, showing rows of weapons prepared to defend the waterway. That man is dead. His intelligence chief, Behnam Rezaieh, was killed in the same strike. The command structure that designed, executed, and maintained the Hormuz blockade for 45 days is, at its highest levels, without a named leader. And the mines he ordered placed in the strait are still there. Iran cannot find them all. The question this brief examines is what Tangsiri's death means for the mines he left behind, and why the answer is more complicated than the official statements have described. This is Stratford Brief. Let's get into it. Let me establish who Tangsiri was, because the operational significance of his death depends on understanding what he built and how he built it. Alireza Tangsiri was born in 1962 in Bushehr province, the province that sits on the northern shore of the Persian Gulf and hosts Iran's only operating nuclear power plant. He served as a naval brigade commander during the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, acquiring the kind of operational experience in contested Gulf waters that defined his entire subsequent career. He later headed the IRGC Navy's 1st Naval District in Bandar Abbas, before being appointed commander of the entire IRGC Navy in August 2018. That 8-year tenure at the top of the IRGC Navy, documented in the Wikipedia entry on Tangsiri and confirmed by multiple Israeli and American intelligence assessments, was not a period of institutional maintenance. It was a period of deliberate strategic development. According to the Gulf News analysis of Tangsiri's career, he oversaw the development of naval drones for military maritime use. He appeared personally in Iranian state television footage.
Tangsiri's death did not resolve the fracture between Iran's diplomatic apparatus and its military command. It deepened it. There is no longer a single figure who holds both the authority to negotiate Hormuz terms and the operational credibility to order mine-clearing cooperation.
Inside the Qeshm Island underground missile city, the facility buried beneath the island's salt caves directly in the strait, showing rows of weapons prepared for launch. He was, according to Al Jazeera's reporting, citing the IRGC analyst Mohanad Hashem, in Bandar Abbas in the weeks before his death, specifically overseeing Iran's efforts to assert control over the Strait of Hormuz, personally posting updates on his social media accounts about which ships were permitted to pass. The IDF's assessment of what Tangsiri represented, published on March 26th, was specific. He led efforts to close the Strait of Hormuz and advanced attacks in the maritime domain, one of the primary figures responsible for disrupting the global economy. Over the years, he was responsible for attacks on oil tankers and commercial vessels, and personally threatened freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and the international maritime domain. U.S. Central Command confirmed the death through its own statement. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander, called on those serving in the IRGC Navy to immediately abandon their posts and return home. He added, U.S. military strikes on the IRGCN will continue. The statement from Gulf News Reporting also noted that since the commencement of Operation Epic Fury, 92% of the large ships in the Iranian Navy had been eliminated. Before we continue, subscribe to Stratford Brief and turn on notifications. The analytical picture here gets significantly more specific in the next section. We report what the documented record shows beneath the official statements. New brief every day. Let's continue. The official narrative surrounding Tangsiri's death, as presented by Israel and confirmed by the United States, is a straightforward decapitation success. The man who designed and ran the Hormuz blockade was killed. His senior commanders were killed alongside him. With the IRGC Navy's leadership eliminated, the capacity to maintain the blockade is degraded. That is the framing. The documented record shows something more operationally complex, and the complexity runs in two directions simultaneously. The first direction is institutional resilience. The IRGC's command structure was explicitly designed to survive exactly the kind of decapitation strike that killed Tangsiri. According to the House of Saud intelligence analysis, drawing on IRGC organizational documentation, a September 2008 reorganization distributed operational autonomy across 31 semi-autonomous regional corps, precisely to maintain operational continuity after leadership losses. This is not a theoretical design feature. It is an institutionally documented adaptation that the IRGC implemented as a direct response to the threat of targeted assassination. When Tangsiri was killed, the IRGC Navy did not pause operations. Its official response, according to the same House of Saud analysis, was to claim vindication. The IRGC Navy's fighters, in the absence of this brave commander from his command position, have demonstrated through crushing blows and decisive management of the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC Navy continued issuing operational declarations about Hormuz authority without a named commanding officer. On April 11th, when USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. attempted to transit the strait, the IRGC issued a radio warning. This is the last warning. That declaration was issued without a named commander. It was issued under institutional authority by a command structure that has no named leader. The mines that Tangsiri ordered placed in the strait are being defended by an organization that is issuing threats in his absence. The second direction, and this is where the documented record connects Tangsiri's death to the specific operational problem the mine situation represents, is the command structure that actually controlled the mine-laying operation. According to the analysis published by Abhishek Gautam on April 12th, drawing on the New York Times confirmation from U.S. officials, Iran planted between 2,000 and 6,000 mines in the Strait of Hormuz, using small, fast boats operating in darkness. The mining was conducted without systematic position recording. IRGC units used commercial GPS devices in some cases and manual bearings in others. Many locations were never logged. The result is that Iran possesses neither a complete mine map nor the mine clearing vessels required to act on one. Now connect that documented operational profile to what Tangsiri's death means specifically. The mine-laying operation was decentralized. Small boats, multiple units, no systematic tracking. The command structure above that operation, the IRGC Navy leadership that would have held whatever aggregated intelligence about mine placement existed, was eliminated in the same strike that killed Tangsiri. The IRGC Navy intelligence chief, Behnam Rezaieh, was killed in the Bandar Abbas strike alongside Tangsiri, according to the House of Saud analysis. Whatever aggregated picture of mine placement existed at the command level was held by the people killed in Bandar Abbas. The decentralized units that actually placed the mines had whatever position records they individually kept. The coordination layer between those units and the overall command, the layer that would have compiled and maintained a comprehensive mine chart, was eliminated at 3 in the morning on March 26th. This is the specific analytical connection between Tangsiri's death and the mine situation that no official statement has drawn explicitly. When U.S. officials told the New York Times that Iran cannot locate all the mines it placed, and that the mining was done haphazardly without systematic position recording, they were describing an operational consequence that the March 26th strike made irreversible. Even if Iran wanted to produce a complete mine chart now, the command layer that would have held whatever approximation of that chart existed is gone. The surviving operational units have their individual records. There is no longer a Tangsiri to compile them into a coherent picture. Now let me examine the specific mine-clearing problem this creates for the American naval operation now underway.
The clearance timeline is documented. 8 to 14 weeks of mine-clearing operations with foreign naval assets after a political agreement is reached. 2 to 3 months before full commercial traffic returns. The ceasefire is 2 weeks long. Those timelines do not fit inside each other.
According to the Defense Scoop reporting confirmed by CENTCOM, the U.S. Navy began mine-clearing operations in the Strait on April 11th, sending the destroyers USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. and USS Michael Murphy through the waterway. CENTCOM stated that additional forces, including underwater drones, would join in coming days. The president said the UK and other allied nations were also sending minesweepers. The Abhishek Gautam analysis estimates the clearance timeline with specific precision. A peace deal enables clearance operations to begin. It does not clear the mines. Foreign naval assets, including the U.S. Navy, the Royal Navy, and Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, would need to be permitted in and operate for 8 to 14 weeks to clear the strait adequately. Hormuz will not return to full commercial traffic for at least 2 to 3 months after any political agreement. The specific challenge the mine-clearing operation faces, beyond the scale of the minefield, is the lack of a reference document. Mine-clearing operations typically work from a minefield map. Even an approximate one provides a baseline for systematic clearance using acoustic, magnetic, and pressure sweep systems. When a minefield has been laid without systematic tracking, and the command layer that held whatever records existed has been eliminated, the clearance operation must proceed without that baseline. Every sweep covers an area that might contain mines that have drifted, or nothing at all. The operational tempo of clearance is dramatically reduced when the starting point is a blank chart.
The IRGC issued a radio warning to a U.S. destroyer transiting the strait. This is the last warning. That declaration was issued without a named commanding officer. The command structure is issuing threats in the absence of a leader. That is a different kind of operational posture than what existed before March 26th.
The House of Saud analysis notes the historical reference point with precision. The USS Samuel B. Roberts struck a single Iranian contact mine in April 1988 during the Tanker War, tearing a 15-foot hole in the hull, breaking the keel, and nearly sinking the ship. That mine was one of approximately 100 laid in the 1988 Tanker War. The current minefield is estimated at between 2,000 and 6,000 mines. The density of the current problem is between 20 and 60 times larger than the one that nearly sank a U.S. frigate in 1988. The broader command dimension of Tangsiri's death raises a question that the documented record identifies but cannot yet resolve. When the Islamabad negotiations were underway, Iran's diplomatic delegation was negotiating ceasefire terms that included Hormuz reopening. The IRGC Navy was simultaneously issuing declarations of permanent authority over the strait. The House of Saud analysis describes this as two Iranian power structures pursuing opposite objectives through the same waterway, not ambiguity, but institutional fracture. Tangsiri's death does not resolve that fracture. If anything, the documented record suggests it deepens it. The diplomatic apparatus, the foreign minister, the negotiators who went to Islamabad.
Decapitation of a command structure produces two possible outcomes. It either degrades operations because the institutional knowledge held by the killed commanders cannot be replaced, or it produces institutional resilience as subordinate units continue operating under pre-established protocols.
Can negotiate terms on paper. The operational apparatus, the IRGC Navy regional commanders, who control the actual mine-laying units, is now issuing declarations under institutional authority without a named commander at its head. There is no single figure who simultaneously holds the authority to negotiate Hormuz terms.
The indicator to watch is whether a successor to Tangsiri is named PROD, and whether that successor has the operational authority to negotiate mine-clearing cooperation PRIM, or only to continue the declarations of permanent Hormuz authority that the institution has been issuing on its own.
And the operational credibility to order the mine-clearing cooperation that would make those terms executable. This is what the decapitation of Tangsiri and his command team actually produced. Not the end of the Hormuz threat. The IRGC's mosaic structure ensures operational continuity. Not a complete picture of the minefield. The command layer that would have held that picture is gone. Instead, a deepened institutional fracture between Iran's diplomatic face and its operational reality. In a waterway where American destroyers are now transiting under IRGC radio warnings, clearing mines whose positions are not fully known. In the absence of any diplomatic framework to govern the process, the question the documented record raises is whether the Islamabad failure and the mine situation together create conditions for the conflict's next phase, or whether Pakistan can reconvene negotiations quickly enough to produce an agreement before the 2-week ceasefire window expires and the operational situation in the strait forces the next move. The indicators to watch are specific. Does the IRGC Navy name a successor to Tangsiri? And if so, does that successor have the operational authority to negotiate mine-clearing cooperation or only to continue issuing threat declarations? Does the mine-clearing operation proceed without Iranian interference, or does the IRGC attempt to enforce the radio warnings it has issued? And does the 3 to 8 week mine clearance timeline that analysts project compress or extend based on what the clearance vessels actually find when they enter the areas the Iranian Navy's map estimated as safe? Each of those indicators will tell you something about whether Tangsiri's death reduced the Hormuz threat or simply transferred its management from a named commander to an institutionally headless organization that has already demonstrated it can operate without one. The mainstream coverage tells you what happened. Stratford Brief tells you what it means. New brief tomorrow.